Okay, guys, so we are going to be using our studies weekly again today. We are talking about communities and education. And on Monday, we talked about the education then and now. So we read the front part of our studies weekly, where we talked about a schoolhouse in 1923 and an elementary school in the same town in today's present time. So you're going to open up your studies weekly, and we're going to be reading the top part where it says History of Education. And we're going to be talking about ancient schools, early American schools, first public schools, more schools, and schools today. So you are going to be following along with the reader.
Have you ever wondered what schools were like long ago? Step into our time machine and let's go back about 2,400 years to see what education was like at the time. Ancient schools. In the ancient communities of Greece and Rome, many men enjoyed being teachers and sharing their ideas. They gave speeches to people in the community. In some communities, the sons of wealthy families went to school in the temple. Some families hired their own teachers. Many boys learned a trade. They could then make a living using their new skills. Back then, girls were not usually allowed to go to school. They learned how to take care of a home and family instead. American Indians who lived in North America in ancient times taught their children by telling stories. Storytelling was an important way to answer children's questions about the world around them. They used stories to teach children how to behave. Boys also learned to hunt, and girls learned to gather or grow food. Now let's travel to the 1600s when our country was just beginning. Early American schools. The Pilgrims came to America from England in 1620. They believed children should be educated. But different children got different kinds of educations. There were schools for children of wealthy families. These children often studied history, math, and Latin. Some schools were only for girls. They learned to read, write, and take care of a home. Some schools were not what we would think of as schools at all. Many young people went to work with adults who taught them a skill. They learned trades like candle making, blacksmithing, and leather tanning. For many poor or enslaved children, there was no school at all. First public school. The first public school in America opened on April 23, 1635, in Boston, Massachusetts. The city used some of its money to pay for the school. Reverend John Cotton started the Boston School. He wanted the city to have a school like the ones in England. Philemon Pormort was the first teacher. Classes were held in the teacher's house for many years. He taught them many subjects, even Greek and Latin. Today, students can still attend Boston Latin School. They can study in the same rooms where many famous people went to school. Samuel Adams, Benjamin Franklin, and John Hancock were all students there. Back to the time machine. This time, set the dial for 1852. Why then? Keep reading. More schools. Over time, people in communities began to realize how important schools were. Many cities and towns began building schools. In 1852, Massachusetts was the first state to pass a law that required children to attend school. Other states passed laws like that, too. There were still many different types of schools, but more and more children were getting an education. One more trip in our Studies Weekly time machine will bring us home. Schools today. Today, every child in America has to go to school. It is the law. Students and parents have many choices. Most schools offer exciting ways for students to learn. Of course, you study reading, writing, and math. But many students can also study different languages, music, art, dance, and computer science. There are all kinds of clubs and activities to join. Students may play on sports teams. Schools help students learn to be good citizens of the community. Some families teach their children at home. They have to work very hard and pass the same tests as students who go to a school building to learn.
All right, guys, so many different things that schools have gone through from when they first started to schools today. So you have an assignment where you are going to be reading or filling in some blanks. You'll be using your Studies Weekly to help you fill in the blanks with the missing information using your Studies Weekly.